Well, hey, hello, and how are you, everybody? We're coming to you from the Epcot studios because a little bit of breaking news, I guess, here. Sounds like
Yeah.
reports coming in from Jordan Schultz. First report, Gabe Davis is coming back to Buffalo to work out with the team on Wednesday, Matt. What do you think?
Well, first off, we have to get to that point because he is visiting the Steelers on Tuesday, at least
Right.
what that report says. So they could not let him leave the building and he could be a Pittsburgh Steeler before he even has a chance. But the fact that he's got something scheduled in Buffalo, either that's a leverage play to get something done with Pittsburgh or he's just kind of making the drive from Pittsburgh to Buffalo with the expectation that he'll sign with the Bills. And the other interesting thing is that the Bills made a bunch of roster moves on Tuesday morning. They moved some guys to like injury settlements,
Yep.
IR, all this stuff. They have one open roster spot. So not a coincidence that they have an open roster spot. And apparently Gabe Davis is coming back to town for a visit.
Yeah, I think it's more like due diligence for both sides, right? Like, hey, if the Bills know Gabe Davis is out there, let's go check in on our old friend. If you're Gabe Davis, hey, best years of my career were spent in Buffalo. I'm a 3.5 hour drive away from there. Why not go and check out, see what's good? One open roster spot could be for a plethora of other reasons too. It's not just like they created that open roster spot
Gabe
for
Da- yeah,
Gabe
for
Davis. I will say though, the more I think about it, I like it, Matt.
Yeah,
I like the thought a lot about Gabe Davis coming back to Buffalo.
I have seen on social media a lot of people pouring water on this and saying that this is a terrible idea. Like a year and a half ago, Gabe Davis was a good wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. He goes to Jacksonville. Like, sorry he didn't have success in Jacksonville. Who has had success with the Jags over the last couple of years?
Not a lot of people.
And the other thing, too, is to temper the expectations. When Gabe Davis was here, he was their wide receiver, too. This would not be to be their wide receiver, too. This would be to be a depth wide receiver as like the fourth or fifth option for the Bills.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, when Gabe Davis was not the wide receiver 2 or even a wide receiver 1, did he not have his best season as a Buffalo Bill?
His best years were when they had in front of him Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, John
Emmanuel
Brown,
Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep.
Like all of those guys were in that room. He was awesome as a rookie, as a sophomore. Like he went on to get a big contract. The Bills were never going to be able to pay Gabe Davis what the Jags did. He only got a year into that contract. He's been dealing with a couple little injuries here and there. I just feel like, first off, the money isn't going to be crazy. He's not going to be commanding a ton of money because he's still available at this point in the offseason.
Right.
The Bills wouldn't even be giving him this visit if the price was way off of what they think they can afford, which is not very much. So in my mind, this is essentially, who do you like more? Tyrell Shavers, Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel, Gabe Davis. Of those names we're talking about, one of them is produced with this team. The other ones have not yet. That's why I'm going to bank on Gabe Davis over some of the other options.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is I think that was the other argument and the debate going on across like sports, social media this morning. Is Gabe Davis comes in, it obviously smells kind of bad news for Tyrell Shavers or Curtis Samuel or Elijah Moore. Any one of those receivers kind of battling for what we think is that last spot in the wide receiver room for the 53-man. Whose job are you? Let's just go with the hypothetical situation. Gabe comes to Buffalo. Whose job is more in jeopardy? Is it Tyrell Shavers? Is it Curtis Samuel? Or is it Elijah Moore? Or whose spot on the roster more
Shavers
so?
Probably just because they
That's
would
what I
play a
thought,
little bit more of a similar type of role. But like, there's going to be people who are going to say that they would rather have Tyrell Shavers on this roster than Gabe Davis, and I could not disagree more.
Oh, they're
the same age.
It's a wrong take.
So they're the same age. So if you're like, oh, you always love the unknown or the potential of something that you haven't seen yet, Gabe Davis has played meaningful snaps for this team. And you could
produced
say,
in meaningful games.
Yeah, and you could also say like, oh, well, he doesn't catch the ball consistently enough or he doesn't get open, and that's not what the Bills need on this roster. Yeah, but he can stretch the field. They don't have somebody, I think, right now who can truly stretch the field the way Gabe Davis does. He is somebody who blocks really, really well. In my mind, I am thinking of this as a Mac Hollins type role from last year, this year, with a player who Josh Allen already has some chemistry with and a team where he understands kind of what makes the locker room go. Keep in mind, Gabe Davis was a captain on this team in 2023.
That's right.
That was
that actually.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's already getting written off by some people is just a little bit ridiculous to me. Now, I have always been a bit of a Gabe Davis truther. Like, I'm always like, hey, I think this guy's got more left in the tank. I think he can be a solid NFL player. So I understand that I'm probably a bit biased here. I just don't even think this should be a question. if it's a good idea to bring him back, given the role that we're talking about.
I think you make some good points. I also think it's a little bit too dressed up. I think it's just as simple as like Josh Allen is so comfortable with Gabe Davis. They have that repertoire built over their careers. Why not bring a guy that's going to make Josh Allen better, help this offense? There already is that element of familiarity. I think that in its core against Curtis Samuel, who you haven't just gotten to see build any because he's been injured. You have nothing with Elijah Moore. That's a work in progress trying to build up the chemistry. And Tyrell Shaver's been a practice squad guy who hasn't played a lot of one reps, meaningful snaps with Josh Allen the way Gabe Davis has. I think that's as simple as could be the argument as to why if Gabe Davis leaves Pittsburgh, not a Steeler, that's why he becomes a Buffalo Bill, and I think it makes so much sense. I don't know how the money works out. That would be another discussion down the line. But if the Bills can make it work somehow, I think they'd be foolish not to, and I think it would make the team better. Simple as that.
And I also think the age is a factor, right? Because he is still 26 years old. The Bills have made a concerted effort over the last couple of years to try and get a little bit younger.
Right.
Like for Gabe Davis to still be available at this point in his career at 26, I am not suggesting that he is going to turn into this elite wide receiver in the NFL or anything like that. I feel like tempering the expectations are really, really important. But I've seen him contribute in multiple playoff games for this team that maybe they don't win or even hang into the game if not for him. Like the Colts wildcard game his rookie year, he legitimately changed that game for them. 13 seconds. I mean, he has 4 touchdowns in a playoff game. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So like those are all the moments. I'm not suggesting that that's what we're going to see all the time.
Right.
But I think that if you're an injury away from really looking at your wide receiver room and going, don't know how I feel about that, Gabe Davis makes you feel a little bit more comfortable in those situations.
It's a great insurance policy.
Yeah.
And if you're the Buffalo Bills, get an insurance policy on your roster because you don't know, again, what you're getting with the other 3 wide receivers we talked about. I also just think, too, when it comes to like the other thing that people have been really harping on, or maybe why they're dismissing Gabe Davis so quickly, is because they're like, well, you need to address other positions, right? Like everybody, I think it's the recency of like, why should
Does
they
he play safety?
Can they go after safety? Can he play there? Like I saw there's a conversation yesterday where somebody was talking about Jordan Poyer coming back to the team.
Yeah.
Like Gabe Davis makes way more sense, and it's way more smart to do that and bring him back to a wide receiver room that, quite frankly, could very well use him if one injury riddles that room.
I also don't think that signing Gabe Davis to a marginally, like, not a crazy expensive deal has anything to do with the safety position. Like, they only have a little bit of money. But if they're going to do this, they will be able to create a little bit of money somewhere else. Or this maybe means that they would be more comfortable moving on from a player like a Curtis Samuel and eating the dead cap. Or that wouldn't clear up things right now. I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's as simple as you can only get one thing, a wide receiver or a safety. I think that this is you trying to improve your team. And if you do, go back to that injury thing. Like, what if Keon Coleman gets banged up? What if Josh Palmer gets banged up? What do you have on the boundary? Like, I don't know. My hottest take, it's not my hottest take, it's one of my hot takes.
So you've got a lot of hot takes.
My hottest take is that the stump of the muffin is better than the top of the muffin. My hottest Bills take is that I think if Gabe Davis is healthy, the Bills beat the Chiefs 2 years ago in the playoffs. Okay, not revisionist history a little bit here.
Okay.
They barely lose in that game. A lot of stuff. That game was stupid. It was crazy. I know Bass misses.
Was that Gabe Davis who dropped that deal? Do you think Gabe Davis would have caught that deep ball from Josh Allen?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he would have made a catch that Trent Sherfield didn't catch, or Deontay Hardy. Those were the wide receivers they started in that game. They were taking deep shots to Trent Sherfield and Deontay Hardy. Gabe Davis, a proven playoff producer, was not available. He was banged up in that game. I think the game looks completely different if you have another. And it was against the Chiefs. And you know who always plays great against the Chiefs?
Gabe
Davis does. So that's why I'm like, I think you would have had a little bit more success offense. This is revisionist history. I think that this is a good idea if it's not crazy expensive. And the fact that he's taking a visit, scheduled to anyway, means that it won't be crazy expensive. Because if he was like, I want $6 million a year, the Bills would be like, we don't have that, no thanks.
Yeah.
So this might be like, I want $1.5 million and I want some really good wings. And they're like, we got both of those. Come on down.
So hypothetical,
Yeah.
if he leaves Pittsburgh, Gabe Davis, if he leaves Pittsburgh and isn't signed as a Steeler, he is scheduled to come see the Bills on Wednesday. We will wait and see. But there's obviously some exciting development there. We'll keep our eyes on it. I think that wraps it up here. That's Matt Bove.
Yeah.
I'm Dom Tibbetts. Is there anything else you got to add
Yeah,
before we go?
Yeah, really quick. So, schedule for the week. We are recording this on Tuesday morning. The Bills are practicing in a couple hours, so we're going to be heading out to practice for Tuesday. Expected to get some sort of injury updates from Sean McDermott on players like Khalil Shakir, Maxwell Hairston, a couple of the other guys who were banged up. Let me bring up the actual, I'm sorry that I'm looking it up on my phone right now, but let me bring up the actual roster moves that the Bills made earlier today. So the roster moves that they made, they signed Jarvion Howard and wide receiver Grant DeBose. They put Darrington Evans on injured reserve, and then cornerback to Corey Couch and draft pick Caden Prather, the wide receiver, have been waived/injured. So I could see those players coming back on the practice squad in a little bit here. But yeah, the Bills have an open roster spot, and if it's not to add a safety, I think Gabe Davis would make a lot of sense. So thank you for watching. Sorry for me just like reading off my phone, but I just wanted to make sure we didn't get it right. That is Dom Tibbetts. I am Matt Pove. We'll talk to you guys soon.